And now for a legal perspective on the latest developments in Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, we are now joined by Integrated Bar of the Philippines National President, Attorney Alan Panilong. Good morning to you, Attorney. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Pauline, and to your co-anchors. Good morning once again to all our viewers. Thank you for inviting me again to your program.
All right, so let's unpack day 18 of the impeachment trial. The spotlight was on Assistant Secretary Lemuel Ortonio. Attorney, what do you think were the glaring irregularities that the prosecution was able to flag and elicit from the testimony of Mr. Ortonio?
In yesterday's hearing, the prosecution was able to confirm that through the hostile witness, Assistant Secretary Lemuel Ortonio, that the confidential fund, which was spent in the last quarter of the year 2022, was spent for a span of 11 days. Secondly, is that it was also unearthed or again confirmed by the prosecution that there were obligations already incurred prior to the obligation already prior incurred, which is actually a violation of the COA circular. Another thing is that OAVP Assistant Secretary Ortonio also cannot confirm if there was cataclysmic, as what described by Attorney Divina Gracia, cataclysmic threat against the Vice President, which warranted the spending of the confidential fund. And that it was also further revealed or confirmed that there are main players or main personalities, two main personalities involved in the disbursement and implementation of the confidential fund, one of which is the Special Disbursement Officer in the name of Ms. Gina Acosta, who just been presented also as hostile witness, and that the implementation of that disbursed funds of confidential fund were actually implemented by the security officer in the name of Colonel Vance Lachica.
Raymond.
So these are the things that were proven by the prosecution when they presented or when they called into as witness the name of OAVP Assistant Secretary Lemuel Ortonio.
Well, Attorney, once again, Colonel Raymond Lachica was mentioned in the trial yesterday. And of course, from an ordinary perspective, ang tanong po nila dyan, bakit hindi na lang tawagin itong si Colonel Raymond Lachica para mag-testify? Because he can answer many questions dun sa ating mga tanong tungkol dito sa naging proseso. Because as Gina Acosta said, she only disbursed the money and it was Lachica who implemented it. So why do you think that the prosecution is somehow reluctant to bring in Lachica to be possible hostile witness?
Maybe in the minds of the prosecution, they were established some serious irregularities in the disbursement of the funds. So, as we all know, first they were able to establish that a confidential fund was downloaded to the office of the OAVP, and that the SDO Gina Acosta was able to encash it, and that said money was disbursed or was entrusted actually, or were transferred to another person in the name of the security officer mentioned. And another thing is that all these activities, apparently during the presentation of Ms. Gina Acosta as witness, she also confirmed that this was through the instruction of the Vice President, and that another thing is that OAVP ASEC Ortonio also confirmed this. So in trial, the parties have usually reserved witnesses. So yes. So say for instance, they are, if the prosecution wanted to strengthen further their position on the matter, they can actually call on Lachica. But if on their own assessment of the case, they are actually on the right track of proving betrayal of public trust, then there is no need for them to present Colonel Lachica. Because if you know, in the past few days, they were able to establish some lapses in the handling and disbursement of the confidential fund. That in itself is already a violation of the COA joint circular. So we really don't know, but maybe, as I said again, they have reserved witnesses, and they may elect to call Colonel Lachica to further clarify the matter.
Well, Attorney Tolosa also said with regard to La Chica that whenever you present a hostile witness, you have to tread carefully. For the public to understand, because obviously everyone wants to hear from Colonel La Chica, but what are the benefits and the risks when it comes to presenting hostile witnesses?
Well, first things first, a hostile witness is not actually your witness, because that hostile witness has loyalty to the other party. So, say, for instance, SDO Gina Acosta, who is an employee of the OAVP, do you think Gina Acosta would really be what we call this would endanger her principal, no? Secondly is also OABP ASEC Ortonio. So they more or less, their testimonies that they will give will not really suit the whims and the wishes of the prosecution. That is why also in the direct examination, cross-examination style of questioning, like leading questions, are allowed to elicit a clear to elicit information from the witness. Now, the downside of this, as I mentioned, is that they will not really fully cooperate, no? Kasi nga yung mga sagot nila minsan parang template na no? So even if they know the answer, they might probably hold it to themselves, because they know that it will inculpate, or it will endanger their principal. So these are the downside of presenting a hostile witness.
But what about for the defense attorney? Should they call Colonel Raymond Lachica later on in the impeachment trial? Would it benefit their case to have him on the witness stand?
That would be the best time to prove that indeed the confidential funds were properly and in accordance with the joint circular of COA, DBM, DILG, and GCG. So if they have a very good case, if they think that Colonel Lachica will refute or will debunk what was established by the prosecution, then there is a need for them to present Colonel Lachica, because it will erase all doubts, and only Lachica would be is a competent person or competent witness who can actually explain the manner of paying those pays in the disbursement of the confidential funds. Like they have mentioned several items which were charged to confidential funds. So siya po ang magpapatunay na lehitimo lahat ng transaction. Wala ho itong tinatagong any what we call this unlawful distribution or disbursement of the funds. So for me, it would be better on the part of the defense to present him. On the other hand, as far as the prosecution is concerned, it will give them also an opportunity to test his credibility. Kung totoo ba talaga yung pinagsasabi niya, because in the cross-examination, his credibility will be tested as to how the facts transpired and how the funds were actually spent.
Well, Attorney, bottom line is, did the testimony of Ortonio yesterday actually strengthen the case of the prosecution, o may mga gaps pa na kailangan pampunan based on your legal assessment?
The prosecution achieved their purpose, because the things that they wanted to prove is that the confidential fund was actually downloaded to the office of the OAVP, as I mentioned a while ago, and that the vice president herself has knowledge of these funds, and she has instructions on the to this to her subordinate officials, like the likes of Ortonio and that of the SDO Gina Acosta. So these things are very crucial in proving that indeed the confidential funds were disbursed, and that as to how it was disbursed, it was again proven by the prosecution that it did not comply with the procedure, because it should be the SDO who should be disbursing all these bonds and not to entrust to another person. So you know why the intent of the law, uh, the SDO is the only authorized to disburse, because she is bonded. In the event that the money will be lost along the way, so the state can actually run after or can recoup or can get that money, because it is insured, and it is no less insured by the Bureau of Treasury. So ganun po 'yon, no? Kung halimbawa na pinasa yung, which is in this case pinasa po kay Colonel Lachica, no? Which is who is actually not an organic employee of the OAVP. So granting without really ano, supposing nagkaroon ng problema doon. So wala na, papaano habulin ng state yun? Hindi ho ba? So ganun po 'yon.
Attorney, both hostile witnesses have now said that they consulted Colonel Lachica. I mean, there's obviously quite a bit of trust to take him at his word. We're not questioning Colonel Lachica's integrity, but what are the implications and consequences of both Acosta and Ortonio being in positions that process and supervise how public funds are spent, but did not follow through with documentation with definitive proof that the funds were spent properly? What are the implications both inside and outside the impeachment court?
Well, trust is not enough in the disbursement of funds. It has to be in full compliance with the existing COA rules and regulations. So we understand that Colonel Lachica is a gentleman. He's an officer, not an ordinary officer, but he holds a high rank in the armed forces of the Philippines. But that is not enough, because the the disbursement of confidential funds has to follow joint circular issued with the COA, DBM, DILG, the GCG, and the DND. So having said that, if the disbursements were not made in accordance with that circular, so it could be a possible violation of law. So it's not enough. Trust or an integrity of a person, these are not enough. Ang hinahanap po kasi dito is papaano po nag-comply, hindi po kung sino mga personalidad na involved, no? It doesn't mean that he or she is a lawyer or an officer, a doctor, or a CPA, reliable. No. Kung compliant po ba ito sa batas, compliant po ba sa circular, yun ang hinahanap po ng Commission on Audit. At yun din po ang hinahanap ng mga tao. Nag-comply ba kayo? Eh kung hindi kayo nag-comply, malamang it is a violation.
Well, attorney, for the third time in this impeachment trial, I believe, the prosecution used the word scam. Attorney Divina Gracia said that the vice president is the architect and the mastermind of the misuse of confidential funds. Of course, the defense objected to this. But what did you make of that strategy from the prosecution, and what impact will this have on the trial?
Well, it doesn't have any impact at all in the trial. What the prosecution was actually trying to portray was that this was perpetrated by the head of the office. That was their intention, and probably the intention of the prosecution was to convey that message to the public. Take note that the impeachment trial is not only for the senator judges to appreciate, evaluate, and make decision, no, on that proceeding. Marami pong nanonood eh. So kumbaga, pinapalabas ng prosecution na, mga kababayan, ito po ay stand down. Yon. But as far as the proceeding is concerned, the defense has all the right to object thereto. Because hindi pa naman tapos eh. So why do you have to make a conclusion that this is a scam? So ganun po 'yon.
Inappropriate po ba yun, attorney, to use words like that and to make conclusions like that in the middle of the trial?
Oh, well, really, it happened even in courts, and the judge would usually call the attention of the lawyers concerned. So, kailangan kasi mga dignified language or mga professional, the use of courteous language should be observed in the court. So, pwede namang gumamit ng other term na which is more acceptable, no, in the court proceeding, to refer to that word na scam, no? So, pwede namang gumamit ng ibang term. But as I said, the prosecutor probably wanted to direct to the Filipino people who are
Yeah.
watching. Yes, that was the intention. This is a scam. It was not really intended to the senator judges. Alam naman nila kung ano ibig sabihin nun eh. So yun po yung alam mo sa trial kasi because impeachment trial is also actually is also a trial by the people. The
Yes.
people are watching. So sila ang mismo isa mismo sa mga huwes, no? Yung pong kanilang reaction. Kaya nga pag tuwing meron tayong mga live interviews after this interview for sure marami kanya-kanyang opinion yung ating
Right.
mga nanonood. They may not agree with me or some may agree. So ganun po 'yun.
Well, attorney, it's good that you mentioned that this is also a court for the public because yesterday, based on the testimony of Ortonio, he said that the OVP somehow paid their informants with confidential funds to buy medicines, 'di ba, even tables and chairs. So the question here, does this constitute a permissible confidential fund? Because on the public's perspective, sabi nila, ginamit naman pala to sa sa mabuting bagay. Binigyan nga ng medicine yung mga tao. So how would you explain that, attorney?
Well, alam niyo po ma'am 'no, nababasa ko nga sa social media yung mga comments sa mga kababayan natin na sabi nila hindi naman pala nawala yung pondo
Yes.
Kasi ginamit naman pala sa medisina, ginamit naman pala sa mga bagay na ganito. Pero kung titingnan po natin, ang confidential fund po ay meron pong rules kung papaano gamitin. Kung wala po doon sa rules, yung mga puwedeng paggagamitan ng confidential funds ay maliwanag po na kahit na ginawa po yun sa isang kawang-gawa na trabaho, ay bawal po yun. Hindi po siya puwede.
Well, attorney, we've also seen the prosecution, circle back to the 125 million being spent in just 11 days. But we've also heard witnesses confirm that there is nothing stated in the joint circular that bars spending the money in that amount of time. However, with that particular stretch of time also come the ARs that are signed from all over the country, different locations, over 130 locations. So what do the people need to understand as to why the prosecution keeps on focusing on this specific period of time?
Because, it was, if you go back to the testimony of SDO Gina Acosta, no? It apparently kasi yung acknowledgement receipts or proof that it was spent within within the span of 11 days, isa lang yung nag-disburse. So how could you be able to be present in those places, no? Within the span of 11 days, no? Na magkakalayo ito. So it raises actually a question of the manner of disbursing it. Is it really possible to disburse that funds in that period of time for these places na magkakalayo, no? Considering our transportation, even if it took the air, if take the airplane, no? Among other things. So it raises red flag. But it doesn't mean that it was spent for 11 days, bawal na po yun, no? As what the defense was actually saying. However, they have to convince the people and the court that yes, the 11 days is possible because it is possible to disburse that because of the following. So the burden now shifts to the defense. How would they refute or debunk na naipakita nga ng prosecution na and you just spend it in the span of 11 days? How is it possible? So ngayon, nagsishift ngayon ng burden sa kanila. How can they convince the people that it is possible to disburse that amount of money in just a span of 11 days? I think the defense should really do that in order to convince the public that this was properly disbursed.
Pero attorney, yung naging explanation dyan ni Mr. Ortonio was that the confidential funds were supposedly used to pay for obligations already incurred. Maybe you can help us understand what that means talaga, attorney, no? And is that a valid argument or problematic po yung ganong term nga na obligations already incurred?
Hindi lang po problematic, hindi lang po invalid, kundi bawal. Because under the joint circular, the payment of obligations already incurred is actually a reimbursement, and reimbursement under the joint circular is not allowed. So hindi lang ho problematic kundi bawal talaga, hindi pwede. It is not sanctioned by the by the
Joint
the
circular.
circular governing the disbursement of that funds. So yun po ang sagot doon.
So kumbaga parang trinay lang nilang gumamit ng mas magandang salita, attorney, for reimbursement. Pero bottom line din nun is, nagre-reimburse sila for something na hindi naman, di ba, ipinunto nga
Ang
rin
nangyari,
Go ahead,
yes, ang
attorney.
nangyari kasi is parang they did the documentation to fit the rules.
Yeah.
Parang gano'n, oo. So mali yun. Oo. So dapat ano ba talagang factual talaga na nangyari. That is what they have to actually comply with. Not simply to suit the rules, no? No, kasi kung kuwan at mahahanap at makikita yung mga gaps or lapses po.
Well, attorney, today is supposedly the impeachment court will rule on the issue of sub judice. No? And of course, yung mga proper decorum. And parang the way we see it, parang mukhang magkakaroon ng parusa ang prosecution. Normally, ano po ba yung pinapataw na parusa sa ganon? And also, is it also fair that the impeachment court also should address yung mga senator judges din naman that they are also expected to be impartial because aminin na po natin during the impeachment trial may mga pagkakataon po na of course nakikita rin po to ng publiko na naglo-lawyer daw po yung mga defense o yung mga senator judges para sa depensa.
Yun na nga po una-una po dun sa mga senator judges. Alam niyo po sa judiciary, no, since the impeachment court is not actually a judicial office, no. I mean the impeachment court, yes, is not a judicial office, but the Senate functioning as a quasi-judicial entity, no. Yung pong huwes, no, napakataas po yung requirement diyan. Kailangan talagang the judge should appear to be manifestly impartial, no? Hindi po siya partial, no? Kasi in order for justice to be secured by parties, no? In order for justice to prevail. Now, on the part of the dapat silang maging unang ehemplo, no? Kasi I agree with your observation because there are some senator judges that from the line of questioning, it appears that they are helping the parties, no? Merong isang kuwan na halimbawa, yung isang party hindi niya masyadong na-establish
Yes.
yung isang fact or facts na gusto niyang maipakita sa publiko, no? Pagdating sa senator judge, mas liliwanagan pa niya because the senator judge can practically ask anything under the sun. Di katulad nung mga abogado na in the course of the direct examination, limited ka lang doon sa anong sinasabi ng ano yung kwento nung witness. Sa cross-examination, ganun din. Well, yung senator judge, yung mga tanong niya kung saan-saan pwede. So doon makikita mo na, mukhang si Senator Judge A is tinutulungan ito So dapat sana sila maging unang ehemplo para po maging patas ang laban. Pangalawa, doon po sa mga abogado na kung saan ay meron pong sub judice rule, no, doon sa rules on impeachment proceeding ng Senate, dapat din po, no, maging compliant yung mga abogado natin. Kaya lang po, no, ang naintindihan po natin kasi alam niyo po hindi po katulad nating abogado or yung mga nakapag-aral ng law or yung mga closely involved with issues or cases like this na more or less naintindihan natin kung ano yung nangyayari during the impeachment proceeding. So, mas maganda nga rin po sana na yung mga abogado na-explain nila sa taong bayan kung ano ba talaga ang ibig sabihin nung mga nangyayari sa loob ng impeachment court or So kaya nga po yung sub judice na yan, no, na the rule of sub judice medyo masalimuot, no, kasi dapat obligation ng abogado i-explain, no, without necessarily getting into the conclusion ano mangyayari, 'di ba? You just explain what transpired. Yun lang naman eh. So, I think the presiding officer would be prudent also because he is also a lawyer and he understands the function of the impeachment court. So probably for me I think tingin ko baka si Attorney Virgilio Tutan might be reprimanded, no? Or he might be sternly warned that he commits the same action in the future, so a more severe penalty would be imposed upon him. So hindi rin maliwanag kasi ma'am doon sa rules on impeachment proceeding ng Senado kung ano yung parusa eh. Far as my memory is concerned, no? Wala ring kuan. Unlike sa court na pwede kang i-fine.
Right.
Sa regular court, if you cause for instance, pwedeng may fine.
Alright, so abangan po natin anong magiging desisyon ng impeachment court when it comes to that. But for now, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Integrated Bar of the Philippines National President, Attorney Alan Panulong. Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat at mabuhay po ang bansang Pilipinas. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.